Hi, I'm going to show you how to make a slingshot from a natural fork tree branch using basic tools and materials. You'll have a piece of leather, sandpaper, 4 pieces of wax twine. You could probably use other types of string, but I prefer wax twine. 2 pieces of latex surgical tubing, pair of scissors, pocket knife, or any short knife with a nice grip, saw, and of course your found tree branch. Now, tree branch selection is obviously the most important part of this process. Everything else is easy. You're really just focusing on symmetry, the diameter of the grip, and just how it feels in your hand. You're also going to want to find something that's, ideally you cut it off of a living tree. You want a green or near to green, because if not, it might break. I mean, if I just walking up to you, I found this. It's a decent looking tree branch. At one point, it would have made a pretty good slingshot, but with all my frames, I just give it a little squeeze test, and it's dry rotted. So that's not going to work out. I mean, that side would fly back at your face eventually. So anyways, let's begin. Let me circle around front. Grab your tree branch and grab your saw. You can mark it. Maybe I should do that. I like pretty big, dumb forks, just so I can fling larger things through it. And an oversized handle. Facing the wrong way. So I'm just gonna lop this off. Not the ideal saw, but eventually. Now that we have the frame cut, what we're going to do is carve 2 small channels at the top of each fork to accommodate the latex and keep it from slipping over the top of the fork. So the way I do that is, putting on a fair amount of pressure. I am carving 2 parallel lines around the fork. And again, another line parallel to the first around the fork, applying pressure with my thumb. Once I have those lines, I'm going to try not to cut myself. Let me get a better grip. And I'm just going to dig out the bark and as much of the wood between those 2 lines to make that channel. Now, I'm going to do 1 pass, and then depending on how I feel about my work, I'm probably going to do a 2nd pass to get a deeper channel. Trying to find a good grip, keep my fingers out of the way. I'm on my 2nd pass now. Okay, well, Not my best work, but spend a minute and clean it up. Just get off any burrs, anything that might abrade against the latex and eventually break it, which is why I brought sandpaper. So I'm gonna bow sand the top a little bit just to round it off, soften those edges. But I'm also gonna sand a little bit into that groove I just carved, smooth out those edges. All right, now that you have your slingshot frame cut, your grooves made, everything sanded and cleaned up a little bit, you can start making your your leather projectile pouch, attaching it to your latex, and then attaching it to your slingshot frame. So I just drew an oval, 2 dots. I'm just gonna cut this out with scissors. Could do it with a knife too. All right, that is an awkward oval, but that'll have to do. Now normally I have a hole punch, but I'm just gonna cut some squares where I would normally punch. And hopefully that's enough to get the latex through. Looks good to me. One more. A little messier. Anywho, so pop your latex through one side, and I'm going to get some assistance in tying it off, just because it's easier to do it with a second pair of hands. All right, so we're just going to tie that off. Now what you're probably not seeing is just looping around twice, then doing a half knot, and then going around 2 more times, and doing a half knot, and then another half knot to complete the knot. Voila. So I can trim that excess, trim the string, do the same thing on the other side. Tight. Go around once, twice, half knot, going around once again, twice, half knot, and then full knot. Looks good. Just gonna trim again. Trim the string. And now we are ready to attach it to our frame. Hold it in both directions. It might have a better feel in one direction over the other. Grab your spare latex, and you're going to want to orient it, then circle it around the inside of the forks to the outside of the forks and pull it tight, giving an inch and a half or 2 for your buddy to tie a series of knots and loops to secure it. So you're going to circle around once, circle around twice, pull tight, do a half knot, circle around again, circle around again, half knot, and then full knot. Now, nothing special about this knot. It's just circling around, 4 to 5 times, and has a couple of half knots and knots. You can make up anything similar, and I'm sure it'll be fine. So, doing the other side, just make sure it's well balanced, it's not twisted up. Again, from the inside of the fork to the outside, and whoop, it's getting away from me. Give it a tug. Circle around once, twice, half knot, circle around again, twice, half knot, and then full knot. Now, feels pretty good. If it's looking a little bit poofy, like you have some extra latex over in this area, you can pull it through just to make it a little bit more snug. Don't want it slipping over the forks. And then you're going to take your scissors and trim any excess. I even melt the knots a little bit with a soldering iron. It's probably not necessary. And trim the latex, but not too tight. You want enough just to be safe about it. And looking pretty good there. So there you go. Now it's ready to shoot.